Recently got asked a question on Facebook, facebook.com/grapplearts, about dealing with people who've got super flexible, super Gumby-like guards. So I've got a good solution for it. You got a good solution for it. So you get 2 answers for the price of 1. So my favorite way of dealing with somebody whose legs are all over the place, super flexible, is to go to the over-under. As opposed to dealing with the legs which are flopping all over the place, I attack the hips, right? If I can get to an over-under position here, controlling the hip here, controlling the leg here, going up and then driving down on the hips, his legs can move all around, but I'm spiking as much as I can, all my weight here. From here, I'm going to do the standard over-under pass. I'm going to walk him this way, because of course, if I just circle this way here, his legs are going to come in and they're going to use all kinds of weird hooks and lassos and all that kind of junk. So once I've got my over-under, the part that a lot of people forget is that I don't want to pass this way right away because he's going to keep on using his legs. I'm going to walk him the wrong way, then I'm going to pass. Now I've got to be careful here, coming up to the upper body control. I don't want to give him any room at all. So my shoulder and my ear are going to stay glued to his hip. Because if I passed, and I go up here, he's going to bring his legs in and we're right back where we started. So I really like the over-under. I'm going to create an over-under playlist, over-under pass playlist on YouTube. I'll link to it somewhere because I've got a lot of help on this pass from Bernardo Faria,
he's the best at it. Yeah,
the best over-under passer in the world. I mean, he's passed guys with amazing black belt.
Leandro Lowe, look it up.
Yeah. So if that's his solution, that's a good enough solution for me. Why don't you show what you like to do?
Sure. Knee cut is probably for me, one of the best solutions for somebody who's really, really flexible. But the key thing about the knee cut, so Stefan, if I can have you down, is starting off here, controlling the feet, and then getting into this starting position. Now from here, if the person's really flexible, this isn't too much of a problem for the person on bottom because they can use their feet to find themselves on the inside, right, and be able to stop you. One of the key things that you want to try and do from here is to bring your kneecap right up. So, probably the person on bottom is going to be really tight and strong, but you see how I bring my kneecap right up to his teeth, right up to his collarbone. And then from here, I want to go and pretend that I'm boxing, and I want to keep my structure really, really tight, just like I'm boxing. The person on bottom is probably going to be trying to go and butterfly those feet in, and so do you see how I have to go and pretend I'm boxing in order to go and stop entry of his feet? From here, keeping my weight stabilized with a wide base, but you see how my knee is right on his pectoral. From here, as soon as I can, I bring my knee in to his armpit. Not on his bicep, but I want to find the armpit. And then from here, I actually prefer the jacket here as opposed to the underhook. Once again, the underhook creates a little bit more room for him to be flexible. Bring that knee on the inside. I prefer the jacket, and I'm staying tight. And then I use my elbow to come in through the armpit. At this stage, once I pass guard, then if I want to punch under and then through, then I can solidify the position. So it should look like I'm like this the entire time, my knee being right up to Stefan's teeth.
And so it's not a knee cut where you're, like a lot of people just cut straight across to the floor.
That's correct. That's correct. And you absolutely can do it that way. And if the person is really tired or just not that flexible, you can absolutely cut out to the side. But if the person
one more time.
Certainly.
Maybe from this angle, please.
Certainly. So remember, this person is like one of the Meow Brothers or something, and they're just really flexible. So you got to come right through the middle. And note how my knee is like an icebreaker, right? And you see, I'm trying to go and cut through the Hudson Bay in the middle of winter. From here, do you see how, even though that stuff is really balled in and really tight, I'm using my body like a wedge. I may have his collar, and I want to get my knee all the way up to his collarbone. From here, when I see this opening, when I see daylight, when I see the mat in between his armpit, that's when I'm then going to go and cut through. But note how my knee is really high, and I am super low, and I'm super tight like I'm boxing. My hands may control the collar, but of course, I need to go and stop those feet from coming in. I actually prefer this collar, so that way I'm not getting the underhook right away. In no-gi, of course, I just have to go for the underhook. Then my knee goes down to the armpit, my forearm drives into the armpit, and then I cut through. This arm can go on top or it can go underneath, really doesn't make a difference. And then I cut through to follow up, especially against somebody who's really, really good and hyper flexible. I keep my hip off the mat, and then I walk backwards, I walk backwards, I walk backwards, so that Stefan's knees are facing away from him, and then I square up. I don't want to cut through, and then Stefan is just moderately facing me, and then I square up, and then all of a sudden, he's able to get his knee right back in, right? So we need to go and make sure that all that work done from the guard pass isn't all of a sudden thrown out the window. Okay, as a bonus, let's talk about people who invert. So sometimes it's just when people invert, it's just really confusing. What you want to try and think of is that you're still fighting from the guard. So note how I'm fighting from Stefan's guard. I don't want to just stay right here. I want to cross a calf. I want to maybe get my right against his right, and then I want to hold the toes. I don't want to hold on to the ankle. I want to hold the toes in some way. From here, if Stefan just unwinds himself, what position are we in? Headquarters, right? So if he inverts again, I am just needing to cross the calf. Now, of course, you can do it left to right, or right to right, or my left to right on this side. But you see how I'm crossing the calf, and you see how I don't want my calf to be in line with his. From here, then he can go and do some sort of weird attack. I don't know exactly what, maybe some cyborg, some kneeboard like Cyborg Abreu does. But like, note how I want to go and cross his calf. And then I want to hold the toe on the far side. So,
and then you're trying to unspin me to get back.
And that's the ideal. I basically want to create a scenario that is simple for me and that works for me. And for example, I just want my headquarters back. Can I just get headquarters, Stefan? I maybe pass guard, best from here, because then I can get my knee cut, and then I can start to whittle open his guard. As soon as Stefan inverts, do you see how I want to cross my calf? And then I want to grab his toe, and may start with this one immediately. From here, I want to unwind this process, so that way I'm back in headquarters. So I want to cross Stefan's calf, and then I want to control the free moving toe. Now, this may not be easy. He's going to go over, and you see how his foot is already on top of me? See, he's probably going to be planting, but I need to find that toe, and then I need to turn my calf, and then I want to go and find myself in a position that is familiar to me. So when you're dealing with people who are trying to invert, the main problem is that it's just confusing, and it feels foreign. So you need to create a scenario that is familiar to you.
It's also tricky if you're training at a club where there aren't a lot of people who invert. Because some clubs, especially the ones who do a lot of competition, they'll have people who invert.
Absolutely.
But there are lots of clubs where there isn't anyone flexible enough or no one who plays that game. So that can be a high bar to clear to get good at defending something that you're not busy attacking. It's almost worth taking somebody, showing them this stuff, the inversion stuff, and then you've got a training dummy to work against.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just by teaching and encouraging people to invert, you don't need to be super, super flexible to invert. You can still go and create problems just by turning your hips. It's like a shrimp, but a super shrimp. You're just really bringing your hips up high. You can still create a lot of problems for your training partners by doing that. And it's enough where it creates variety in your guard, and then it creates scenarios for your training partner to be able to go and pass more advanced, more guards with more variables.
And if you need an argument, you don't have to stay inverted. Inversion is a movement. Mm-hmm. An inverted guard is where you're playing it upside down. I'm not an inverted guard guy. I'm not crazy flexible anymore. But I do occasionally invert, briefly,
certainly,
to get out of situations. So we can teach it as a transitional thing as well, not a static position.
I agree, and I think pretty much all high-level jiu-jitsu practitioners invert at some point in time during a rolling session. You have to. In order to stop the guard pass, You have to. It is just. I think it's a critical skill. You don't want to stay there and base your game off of that one skill.
Unless you're just into it for jiu-jitsu for the streets.
Yeah,
There's nothing better than
yeah.
an inverted guard.
Inverted guard, perfect. Yeah, for street self-defense, absolutely. You know, all right. Bar fighting,
MMA.
you know, MMA to strike fear in the hearts of your enemies. Nothing like just putting your ankles behind your head.